Napoleon is the new flick brought to you by Ridley Scott. Like, can you believe that? You can still go to a movie theater and watch a movie made by the guy who brought you Alien all those years ago. That in itself is fucking remarkable. And even though Ridley Scott definitely has a hit or miss filmography in terms of great movies and not so great movies, I was definitely pumped to see this. This epic is a look at the military commander's origins and his swift, ruthless climb to emperor. And it's viewed through the prism of his addictive and often volatile relationship with his wife and one true love, Josephine. Napoleon in this movie is played by Joaquin Phoenix, Oscar-winning actor. His wife, Josephine, is played by the excellent Vanessa Kirby. Kirby herself might actually have stolen this entire movie. I love her as an actress. And let me tell you this much, my friends. Growing up, if you were to ask me to pick a traditional subject that would be my favorite school subject, believe it or not, it would be history. My grandfather was a history major, so he would often tell me all these stories of the past. He would often tell you the stories of the ancient times like he was actually there himself. And even in history classes when I was in high school and whatnot, it was always so fascinating to look back on those events in a previous timeline. And especially in world history classes, Napoleon Bonaparte was always a name that was brought up. And he was always lauded and probably most infamous as a master strategist. So the fact that I left this theater not liking this movie, that should really tell you all you need to know as a big history buff that I am. But okay, let's get into the stuff that I liked. If there's one thing that Ridley Scott doesn't know how to do, it's make a cheap or bad looking film. Because Napoleon absolutely looks like it's got a $200 million budget. Absolutely breathtaking. Ridley Scott has worked with this cinematographer on a vast majority of his recent projects like All the Money in the World and The Last Duel. And keep in mind, this is also the DP of Curse of the Black Pearl. So it should come as no surprise that this movie is breathtaking. I mean, just look at these images I'm showing you. My goodness, the entire production aspect of Napoleon, I really don't have many issues with. I can definitely see the costume design getting nominated for an Oscar once the time comes, because oh my god, that is just pitch perfect costume design. It really helps immerse you in the time period that you're in. They got Napoleon's suit and his military get-up down to a T, that iconic hat. I mean, they had to get that right. But in terms of overall production value, don't really have much to complain about with Napoleon. Great score by Martin Phipps as well. And let's talk about those action sequences, especially as it goes with the Battle of Waterloo, which is shown to you in the third act. Man, oh man, like, I don't want to say that those action sequences are as good as Gladiator, because Gladiator is one of my favorite movies of all time, so that is definitely giving this movie high praise. But I'll just tell you this much. The action sequences in Napoleon are haunting, they're visceral, they're brutal, they're bloody. This pretty much checks all the boxes for big action set pieces in a war flick. And I saw this on an IMAX screen, so this was absolutely optimal viewing for these sequences. And it honestly kind of makes me wish that there was more. This gets me into my many issues with Napoleon. Remember how I said Napoleon was a master strategist? Yeah, this movie really doesn't show you enough of that. There is like one teeny tiny little scene that's like a minute tops that shows you how he strategizes conquering his enemies. But dear lord, the pacing of Napoleon was so freaking uneven. It's like you get a gigantic battle sequence to start off with, you get about an hour of relationship drama, and then I start dozing off, and then, oh hey, new action sequence. And to my understanding, there's a 4-hour cut of this movie that's supposed to come out on Apple TV+. And I'm kind of fascinated to see what was taken out of this theatrical cut, because I can almost guarantee you that 4-hour cut that Ridley Scott has made, it's probably better than what you got here. Because as far as what you see on the big screen, this movie is so much more fascinated with the relationship between Napoleon and Josephine. And it doesn't even really feel like love or a relationship. Matter of fact, it kind of feels uncomfortable. And heck, maybe that was the whole idea, to have Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby not really have that much chemistry. But it's so off-putting because you have great little sequences where you definitely sense the friction between the two. But then the next scene, they are ferociously making love with one another, and it just doesn't, like, it doesn't commingle together. I'm telling you, the pacing of this cut of Napoleon is so sloppy. And that brings me to Joaquin Phoenix as our title character. Okay, what I'm about to say, this is not a knock on Joaquin Phoenix's talents. He won an Oscar a few years back for a reason. He is a phenomenal world-class A-list actor, and he is definitely giving a good performance with what he has. Is he going to get nominated for an Oscar this time around? I hope not, because Joaquin Phoenix is a man who is almost infamous for not knowing a lick of French or the French dialect. So why on earth would you cast this man as probably the most infamous French ruler ever? Because I gotta tell you, it's almost like Kevin Costner in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Joaquin Phoenix does not even attempt a lick at the French dialect. And I'm sorry, it just really throws you off. When you're supposed to be looking at Napoleon Bonaparte on the big screen, you see Joaquin Phoenix dressed up as Napoleon. And this is a key difference here. Joaquin Phoenix in this movie, you are watching a performance. If you watch him in something like Joker, you're seeing a character. Like, my word, he was severely miscast here. And this isn't even because of the height differential. I know, Joaquin Phoenix is a whole 2 inches taller than the real-life Napoleon. Big whoop. The height difference is not necessarily my problem. It's the fact that I'm looking at this man, and I understand why the studio put him in this part. He's gonna get people in the theater. He's gonna put butts in the seats because he sells tickets. It's Joaquin Phoenix. He won an Oscar a few years ago. But you mean to tell me that there wasn't one French actor out there that would have played this part better than Joaquin Phoenix? You're telling me that we could not watch an authentic Napoleon actually speaking French with subtitles in front of you? Like, I'm a stickler for details, guys. But I don't know, guys. As great as the action sequences were in this, they were too few and far between, and it's a very clumsy framework for a theatrical cut. With a very miscast main actor, that certainly does not help matters whatsoever. I'm definitely curious to see what the 4-hour cut looks like and see if that's any better. I'm almost certain that it is. And maybe my opinions of this movie will change once that's out in the open, but as it currently stands, this is probably one of the more disappointing flicks you're gonna see all year long. I'm not gonna discourage anybody from going to the theater to see it this holiday weekend, but it's probably not your first choice. I'm gonna give Napoleon a C-. I'm telling you guys, the more and more I think about this movie, the more all those little issues just start to nag at me. Let me know what you thought of Napoleon down in the comments section below, and let me know what other rulers, what other past presidents would you like to see a biopic of down the line. There's loads that we can discuss over here and then some, guys. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. Do consider becoming a subscriber and tap on that thumbs up. It's a great community of film lovers and entertainment lovers out here, and y'all are invited to the party. Look out for my review of Wish. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that on Friday after the holiday. And speaking of, have a great and happy Thanksgiving. I hope you guys just stuff all the turkey that you possibly can in your face. I hope that whoever you spend this Thanksgiving with just brings you the utmost joy. And I'll see you guys back here after the holiday. So with all that being said, Back Talk, commence.